Infusion is an Australian production team that has been together for over a decade now, consisting of Jamie, Manuel, and Frank. The three have electrified audiences around the world over the past years with their genre-defying tracks and their groundbreaking live sets. The Sydney-based group is similar to setups like Crystal Method, Lab 4, and New Energy, but has a whole unique sound of their own. We're here with Frank Xavier right now. Welcome to Toronto and the government. It's the day after, and how was the event last night?
Yeah, it was an interesting event. I didn't expect so many people to be there. How many people were there? About 10,000 or so. Yeah, no, it was a great gig.
You've just come off of your latest tour experience. What have you seen so far?
Well, so far we've been to went to Caribbean, went to Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, and we went to Argentina after that, and Chile. And where else have we been? And to Liverpool for Creamfields, and a little bit of the States as well.
So you've obviously been all around the world. What's the difference in the music vibe compared to, say, North America and Europe to your homeland?
Well, it's pretty much very similar. Back at home, I guess we have a lot of little clubs. And you know, you can go out and listen to anything, but breaks are quite big in Australia at the moment. I haven't really seen a big scene like that here. I'm sure there is one, but yeah, I mean, the music's the same all around the world, if you know what I mean.
Now, when you're asked to do a gig, what are the kind of things that you look at before deciding whether or not to take it?
Yeah, it all depends. Well, basically, it depends on what style the party's going to be and what the other DJs are at, and whether we need to tour the country or not for kind of promotional purposes. But you know, at the moment we're just having fun, and we're just trying to play in as many countries as we can, just so different people, you know, all around the world can listen to our sound. I mean, back at home we played in Australia and we've played the clubs, and we've been doing that for years and years and years, and we just thought, well, let's give this a shot overseas and see how the crowd reacts to our style of music, and we've been quite lucky so far.
Now, tell us a little bit about your live setup. What's the heart of the Infusion, and what gives it the unique sound?
I guess it's because it's as live as you can possibly get it in an electronic act, if you know what I mean. I guess because it's all loop based kind of music, and it's all free formed, so we build the track as we go along, and because we've got a vocalist and a keyboardist, we basically feed off him and you know, build tracks as we go along. And I guess, well, the heart of what we do is we never rehearse, so everything's just one big jam, like a 2-hour jam session. And you know, I think the way we survive is that anything can go wrong, and that kind of adrenaline, that feeling of something going wrong kind of keeps it going, and it kind of gives us a little bit of an edge over a lot of other electronic bands who kind of just get up there and either, you know, play off an entire MIDI file or play off hard disk. And I guess you know, there's nothing wrong with that, but just for us to be excited about what we do in a live situation, you know, requires us to kind of be really, really hands-on and, you know, get excited about what we're doing.
One of the live aspects that you have, which is different than many other production groups, is the live vocals done by Manuel. Can you tell us a little bit about what that brings to the live event? Well,
I guess the live vocals just brings back kind of an interaction with the crowd as well. Manuel likes to pep up the crowd, and with the album as well, there's a lot of vocals on the albums. We like songs. There's just a kind of energy you can bring about in a live set when you do have vocals. I mean, I've seen a lot of you know, electronic bands that are just purely instrumental, and I can appreciate that at some level. But you know, it's always good. It's like that kind of old type of rock band type of feel. You know, you get a certain energy about having vocals in tracks, and it allows us to play around a little bit more, and you know,
when you travel, you're forced to scale down your gig because of equipment regulations at times. Do you think this changes your overall sound, or is it just, you know, another something you have to worry about and part of the live sound itself?
I think, well, as we started, we used to take a lot of gear out, and that's one of the things that a lot of bands start to do when they start out. They just pull apart their studio and take it all on the road. And it comes to a point in your life where you kind of have to make it as easy as possible, especially when you're traveling overseas. I mean, you're only limited we're only limited to about 120 kilos, and that's just nothing when you got a balance of gear. But I've scaled all the gear down. I've only used like the essential things. Like I've got two samplers, and they basically I watch their weight as well, and two effects units, and they're kind of the best and the lightest that we could possibly get, and the lightest mixer, and having it scaled down as well makes it a lot simpler, and it doesn't get too complicated, and you learn as you go along, and then as we travel around the world, if the gear gets heavier and heavier and heavier, and we'll start thinking of ways to until we get roadies, things will change, but until then.
What's been your biggest mishap so far at an event?
Biggest mishap? We haven't had any big mishaps. I mean, there's times when a few program changes don't work in the samplers, and a few sounds, but there's nothing drastic. I mean, the samplers have turned themselves off twice. That was a big mishap, but no one would have noticed because we kind of get out of those situations pretty well. Last night at the party, we had a few technical difficulties there because one of our samples got smashed in customs, so I had to quickly repair that before the gig, and managed to get it to work. But in the process, I had reset all the settings on the sampler, and then when I started to play, then I realised that all the settings were wrong, so I had to kind of fix up all those settings in the first 10 minutes. So it was a bit of a slow start, a bit of a nerve-wracking start, but things like that happen. It's all about the whole live feel of things.
Now, you guys are very close to Dave Seaman. How has he affected your music?
I wouldn't say he's affected our music, but he's given us a great opportunity. He's opened up a lot of promoters' eyes into bringing us out for parties, and with his label Audio Therapy, which we released Starwater on. No, sorry, Legacy on. That opened up a bigger crowd for us, a bigger market, and being able to be introduced to Junkie XL as well, who did a remix for that track, and through that we got some more work through him. So he's been a very influential person. He has a lot of contacts. And
how important is playing live compared to DJing? And do you think maybe you guys might branch off and try behind the wheels?
Well, Jamie actually DJs in his spare time for fun, and I used to DJ when I was really young, but I personally haven't got a real passion for it. Jamie does, but I don't know. I don't really agree with that whole thing of well, let's just play some records then and get the same amount of money, so we don't have to carry all that gear around. I mean, God, I hope I'm not going to. I'll probably, in the future, I'll probably end up doing it, but I don't see myself doing it. But there's a lot of bands. A lot of bands that come to Australia, like Crystal Method, who came down recently. They're starting to DJ now, more so than playing live. But I think what Infusion is built on is the three of us as a live act, and we're a band. If anything, we're not just a dance band. We're an electronic band, and I think to keep three of us together as that is just basically what we have to do, and that's pretty much it, really.
On that note, if you could change one thing in the electronic dance scene, what would it be and why?
Well, as I'm getting a lot older, so I'm not as young as I was used to, and I'm seeing the kids at these parties, really enjoy themselves. But way back, when we used to go clubbing, DJs used to be a lot more diverse in their styles. All the DJs that we used to listen to back at home, because music was so fresh back then. Like they'd throw in some really kind of dark kind of house things, and then they'll throw in a lot of different breaks and and techno. It'd be all over the shop, and if they wanted to play, a drum and bass thing, they would. It was great. It was a mixture of all these different styles of music, and I used to go down there when I was very young to the club on a Friday night and just sit there and listen to this array of amazing music and productions out there. And I think nowadays you go, okay, well, I'm going to go to a trance club and you're going to listen to just trance, or I'm going to go to a drum and bass club and listen to all drum and bass and house. And I think that's what's really got me really disinterested in the scene at the moment. Like, I'd prefer to just go out and have a listen to a diverse range of music. And I guess DJs that I respect are DJs like that who aren't afraid to drop in, if they're a breaks DJ, aren't afraid to drop in a house record in the middle of the set. I think that's what's killing the scene at the moment. Just kind of just monotonous. A monotonous style throughout a whole night can just be really boring. You know what I mean?
Well, compared to last night, you got thrown in right after a really hard anthemy trance scene, and then you got your, I don't know, what would you even describe your own music style as? A house of some sort, or?
I don't know. Well, it's hard to describe what it is, but basically we have we make a track with a whole bunch of sounds and just put it all together, and we'll see how it goes. We don't really go, oh, let's make a house track now, and we need and follow certain formulas. Like, we'll come up with a few rhythms and a few sounds, and then it just kind of becomes this, piece of music. It's I guess that's what we try to achieve, where people can't really pinpoint the style of music that we do. We don't want to be called a trance act, or we don't want to be called a breaks act. We just want to be called musicians. I don't know.
So what single song or remix would you consider to be the sound of Infusion?
What do you mean?
Like, if you had a chance to tell someone, what one song would they listen to that would best describe your music?
That's the thing. There wouldn't be like one song. I mean, when you listen to the album, it's a lot of people that I know are very surprised in how it turned out. Like, they've gone, wow, this is not really Infusion, and then the next track, wow, this is kind of different. I mean, there's a type of, there's a sound within our music which I can't describe, that's very Infusion. I mean, people can go, oh, that's kind of that's very Infusion. But with the albums, it's very diverse. You can't really pinpoint a specific track. It's just all over the shop, like a infusion of just different styles and different sounds. So yeah, I think most of the time, I personally think that our songs are quite different than each other.
So you mentioned 6 Feet Above yesterday, your new album. How's this going? How's this come together, and what are you looking to get out of it?
Well, basically, as kind of people have known Infusion as primarily a dance act, and because we played a lot of clubs and this and that, and there's a lot of 12s, and we remix a lot of. Do a lot of remix 12s and things like that. So not many people really knew that there was more to just that with us. I mean, we released our first album. This is our second album. Our first album was released in just only Australia and Japan, so no one really got hold of it and kind of experienced the other stuff that we do. But basically, our approach to the album is just being able to experiment in a different way, like with more songs and more atmospherics and different grooves and just not being stuck to a formula like most house records. I mean, even though there are different house records and they sound different, there's still a underlying formula that everyone has to keep, and a certain amount of energy. But with the album, we just said, well, let's just do what we want to do and experiment a bit more. And this gave us an opportunity to work with a lot of musicians as well. We've got guitarists on the album. We've got a string quartet, a brass band. We've got lots of different things kind of melded into this sound that we have.
Is there a sleeper track on the album that you feel very proud about, that maybe soon will be one of your major releases and we'll see it as an upcoming track? Or is there just a track on the album that's your favorite?
Yeah, there's 2 tracks on the album, or 3. We're going to release 3 singles. I don't know whether they're released in Canada yet, but we released Girls Can Be Cruel, which was the first single, and that came out in Australia and a bit in South America. I think that's going around there now. But in Australia, the second single came out called Better World, which we've done clips for, and they're doing quite well, and they're quite good tracks. But I guess my favourite, and all my personal favourites, is a track called Daylight Hours, which is quite an interesting track. Kind of starts off with a lot of instrumentation, and then it kind of builds and builds, and then before anyone knows it, a vocal just comes in really, really sharply, and just comes in and just takes the track to a different level. And there's a brass band that just constantly builds over the top of it with some nice chords, and yeah, it's an amazing track, and it worked out really well. I mean, we never thought, we didn't have a direction for it at the beginning, but it just kind of built and built into this great track that we really like.
Now, you mentioned Girls Can Be Cruel, and the other one that's been released indirectly or going to be in North America is Due to You. Where do you see these going, and do you see them bringing in a lot towards the whole sound of Infusion?
Due to You is just a 12 that we kind of knocked up. It was basically a cover of an old Australian band called Machinations. So it was actually a joke, and because back at home we do Australian covers every now and then for just Australian shows. Like we'll just bootleg an old Australian track like In Excess or Ice House or something like that, and we did this track, and we played it for the Essential Mix, and everyone kind of picked up on it and they really liked it, and we were like, oh, okay. And we discussed it, and the record company thought it would be a good idea if we just finished it and put it out as a 12 just to keep things going, just to let people know that Infusion's still out there. And yeah, but it's going really well, and it's not on the album, so it's basically just a fun 12-inch track. Basically, we would expect anything big from it, but people seem to like it, which is good.
You mentioned just a second ago that you liked to do covers and so on. If there's any one artist around the world that you could work with or remix, who would it be?
I've always talked about this, but depends on what kind of level. Like, as in a vocalist, we'd love to work with someone like David Sylvian or Peter Gabriel or something like that, and then on production front, Brian Eno and some great producers like that. So, but yeah, I'd rather be working with people like that as opposed to dance music producers and remixing the dance producers. I mean, I think we'd like to just branch out and even work with a few rock bands and things like that, because we listen to a lot of that stuff more so than we do straight up dance music back at home.
So would you rather be on a dance floor or in a mosh pit or out on the concert? I'm
not much of a mosher, so I'd rather be. Well, I enjoy a good dance, but it's kind of the fusion between the two things. I think what I like about some kind of rock is that you can dance to it as well, and it's just not all kind of just kind of angst, but it's kind of the blend between the two is nice.
Do you have much free time, and if so, what do you get up to when you're on it?
God, we haven't had free time in about 2-3 years, which is basically in our free time we're just catching up with old friends, like, because we don't see them in months, and that's probably what we spend most of our time doing, just kind of getting back home and then calling up friends and then catching up with them one after the other, and then, oh God, we have to go again. But yeah, I mean, I used to fish and do things like that, and you know, go see a good movie, and I mean, I play basketball as well, but in the last 2-3 years, I just can't fit any of that in at the moment. So I guess when the free time comes, I don't even know what I'll do. I'll probably just sit in my room and look at the ceiling. Yeah.
There's so much bullshit that goes on in the electronic dance scene. Wouldn't it just be easier to pack up and give in, or is there something that keeps you driving forward?
I guess what keeps us driving forward is getting to play parties like last night, where we were put into an environment which was kind of odd, but at the same time we kind of enjoyed being able to play this different sort of music to these people, just to basically get them, you know, interested into something just other than just trance. I mean, that's what we'd like to do. That's what keeps us interesting, just to go to places and show them this kind of different, unique style of electronic music, and it's not pigeonholing into different styles. It's just music, and I think that's what keeps us driving.
Quick final thoughts on the Gov complex. What do you think about it?
It's massive. I didn't even know there were that many people in Toronto that were into those sorts of parties. To be honest, I didn't expect it to be that big. But the rooms are huge, and the crowds were great, and it didn't end up being one of those really messy parties that we've seen. And you know, it was a really, really good party, well put together. Nothing bad happened that I know of. And yeah, it was great. And
finally, where are you off to next?
Well, tomorrow we fly off to, where are we going? Juarez in Mexico, then Guadalajara and Monterrey. So we've got our last 3 gigs in Mexico, which should be good. We just played there like 2 weeks ago, and it was great. So I like to go to places like that I've never been to before. It's you know, it's just great to see these different scenes coming through in these different countries, and it kind of opens your eyes to thinking, well, it doesn't just stop back at home. I mean, people are still doing the same things you do in other countries and having just as much fun and listening to great music as well. So it's good.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure, and best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you back in Toronto.
Yeah, thanks. Love to come back.